me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
You know, for young professionals, that there's so many things in Parks and Rec that even the public, you know, when you look at, you know, a lot of people just think like, oh, it's a dog park or it's a tennis court. And there's so many things that happen. And there's so many ways that people can get involved, you know, whether it's, you know, a recreation center or, you know, outdoor recreation, and development, AI, you know, from social media marketing type things. It's really, you know, encompasses a lot of different areas and brings them all together, really just to improve people's lives. So it's really cool to see it all meshed together.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, live from the 2025 NRPA Conference. In this episode, host Dave Ramirez from Outdoor Link sits down with Aaron Browning, Deputy Director for Knoxville Parks and Recreation, a leader whose path from the U.S. Tennis Association to city parks shows just how many doors this field can open. Aaron shares how technology, innovation, and community connection are transforming parks and rec, from paper and pen operations to AI-driven efficiency, and why young professionals are the heartbeat of its future. He also reminds us why Parks and Recreation isn't just a public service, it's an essential lifeline, shaping safer neighborhoods, healthier lives, and stronger communities every single day. This is the Daily Parks and Rec Show, where we celebrate the people behind the parks that keep our communities thriving. Let's dive in.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, live from the Key Lime Cafe here at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida. We're here at the NRPA Annual Conference. My guest today is Aaron Browning with Knoxville, Tennessee Parks and Recreation. Aaron, go ahead and share a little bit about yourself and what you do over in Knoxville.
Yeah, hello, Aaron Browning. I'm honored to serve as the Deputy Director with Knoxville Parks and Recreation. I actually come from not a, Parks and Rec background, but previously worked for the U.S. Tennis Association and called on a lot of Parks and Rec groups and moved to Knoxville and found a new career path.
Awesome. Well, you know, I'm here as the host because my company, Outdoor Link, is now partnering with DPRS as a sponsor and content creator. And Knoxville is a client of ours, so worked with Aaron since I came on board, talked to him pretty frequently. We have connections with co-workers of his that were co-workers and actually coaches of mine back in the day. So it was a great fit, and I'm glad for you to be here. Tell me a little bit about what you're thinking about the field, Parks and Recreation, and the direction it's going today, especially with our young people.
Yeah, so I think, you know, as a field, I think just in my 13 years in Parks and Rec, there's been a lot of changes with, you know, advancement from AI, but also just technology in general that, you know, 10 years ago, our department didn't have any security cameras, any Wi-Fi, you know, basically just, you know, paper and pen, show up, pay cash and check. So just the way it's advancing and I think getting more efficient is a really positive thing, and just the way the world's going. But then I think, you know, for young professionals, that there's so many things in Parks and Rec that even the public, you know, when you look at, you know, a lot of people just think like, oh, it's a dog park or it's a tennis court. And there's so many things that happen. There's so many ways that people can get involved, you know, whether it's, you know, a recreation center or, you know, outdoor recreation, planning, development, AI, you know, from social media marketing type things. It's really, you know, it encompasses a lot of different areas and brings them all together, really just to improve people's lives. So it's really cool to see it all meshed together.
Oh, yeah, well, my career expanded. It was 32 years before I retired, and the change from being a team, basically when I started, to my retirement, difference, change. One thing that I used to practice as a young professional is to talk to people. These conferences and activities like this, I think, is the best way for somebody to really engage, learn about the field. Folks in the field that especially been around for a little while love to tell stories, and I would just love hearing those stories and take it all in. Would get me fired up. And I know you had mentioned something earlier before us meeting about some of your staff getting into some sessions here at NRPA and coming out pretty excited about stuff.
Yeah, so yesterday afternoon, two of our younger staff members who joined here, who are recreation specialists in our department, just out of college, both of them work in our community centers. That I saw them both after a session about sisterhood, which obviously that wasn't on my list to attend. But they came out so excited, and I saw them passing in the hallway, and they were almost running to their next session, which was an HBCU session. And so to see that level of excitement of running to the next opportunity to learn something and meet people, network with people was really exciting. We've also seen, just on the bus, I've been talking with people from Minnesota or Minneapolis, Minnesota, and to find, there's a much larger, city than us, and to hear, oh, their community centers are old and small, and we have a lot of the same challenges, even though they have a lot more staff than we do and a lot more community centers than we do. There's still common ground that we can talk about, and not, we're not just coming here to talk with people who we already know.
And I think that's part of the best part of conference is just to learn what others' strengths are, what others' pain points are. Because again, I come from a very large county facility. My athletics that I oversaw was 55 sports complexes, 65,000 participants. And then I get to talk to somebody from a smaller town from USA, and they're like, well, we have a park or two and whatnot. But then we start engaging with each other, and we see that we have the same struggles. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, funding. We're Knoxville to Tampa to Orlando to Minneapolis. There's always going to be that crunch, and Parks and Recreation, man. And you'll see this in the video coming up here in a little bit. I always like to preach that we are an essential service, and when I talk about essential, it's about what we do in Parks and Recreation, but beyond that. There's so many people that think, well, you throw some balls out there and the kids get to play, and you're having fun. We enjoy our job. We're having fun, but there's so much more involved. And I'm sure you feel the same way in certain times.
Absolutely. It reminds me, we've had groups in our athletics programs who, one was a group of men and also a co-ed team who played softball, who were terrible at softball, but they had the best time of anybody playing softball in their park, like scoring runs with their arms out, like they just won the World Series. And actually, one of my teammates said, I thought they were showboating, like it's 27-1. Like this is the first run they scored all year. Like this is way cooler than you let up a run, or like they scored. And so to see things like that, and one of our consultants for our master plan had a really good comment saying, Parks and Rec is really the only service that government provides that people choose to be a part of and choose to pay for.
Yep.
And so, we see people, with drug background, abuse, at home, where they come and the person at the community center is their father figure. And so when you realize that and the impact that it has on people, that whether it's a program that's, one-on-one, or, one in a group, or just a place where somebody goes and, they go walking every day, and that's where they find their peace. That's where they're able to get through the rest of the day and start the next day, trying to make it just a little bit better.
Yeah, and you find when you talk to folks that have been in the field so long, I was a park kid. I grew up, my coaches were my mentors. You know what I'm saying? So, going through college and getting ready to start life and pick a career, it wasn't where I was thinking. And then I ran into an old coach at a grocery store, and I'm like, and she offered me a job. She's like, why don't you come on board? And I did, and I did my career, and I loved every minute of it. So it's such a good thing. Again, essential service, and I'm going to go ahead and get a video in. I'd like you to take a look at it and tell me what you think.
Awesome.
You got it.
When we talk about essential services, what comes to mind? Police, firefighters, healthcare. But there's another essential service, often overlooked, yet always present. Parks and recreation. Parks and Rec is health. It's the walking trail that lowers blood pressure, the recreation center where seniors fight isolation, the swim lessons that prevent tragedy before it happens. This isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Parks and Rec is safety. A playground instead of a street corner, a basketball court instead of trouble, a summer camp where every child belongs. It's not just about activity, it's about protection, prevention, and possibility. Parks and Rec is community, the festival that brings neighbors together, the cultural event that teaches respect and diversity, the open space where a city breathes. It builds bridges where division once stood. It gives people a reason to gather, to connect, to care. And Parks and Rec is economics. It strengthens property values. It drives tourism through events and trails. It saves on healthcare costs. Every dollar invested multiplies, feeding back into schools, into safety, into growth. Essential service is not just about survival, it's about thriving. And Parks and Recreation is where thriving begins. In wellness, in equity, in culture, and in joy. Parks and Rec isn't extra, it's essential. For our health, for our safety, for our communities, for our future. A message from the Parks and Recreation community.
All right, very good. So I watched this video and I hear that essentially, which I made it before. What's your thoughts on what you saw? And I think DPRS hit it on the head.
That's amazing. Yeah. My mind went to a lot of different places, and certain pictures I saw reminded me of my childhood. Some of it reminded me of my adulthood, some of my kids' childhood, and things I didn't have the opportunity to do. But I think it really connected all these dots of a lot of times people think like, oh, it's just walking at the park, or oh, it's just this greenway that nobody wants, or the essential side. It also reminded me at the beginning with the doctors and that aspect that during COVID, I made the front page of the Knoxville News Sentinel on April 1st of 2020, which is kind of a funny day. And so it was a picture of me putting caution tape around the playground. And so that, there was that picture. And then also a couple of weeks later, there was a, Tennesseans coming to protect other Tennesseans. And so, to my complete surprise, there's, doctors and people in, look like astronaut suits during COVID. And then there's a picture of me putting caution tape around the playground. And so that was kind of the opposite side of like, all these people are doing all these, really important things. And so, putting caution tape around the playground. But I think to show, parks were places people wanted to be, and it's places that are essential to communities. And so it was really difficult back then, to take down basketball goals and to wrap playgrounds. And we were just following the guidance at the time, but also, to see what it meant to people, highlighted there, but also just the impact that it has. It can be a large event where like it showed special events, but also the things that somebody does just on an individual level where they get connected to something. Maybe it's, pickleball later at life that, they never knew they were an athlete, and then they become, they can't stop playing. And so there's just so many different ways, so many different passions to live out, that it's, when I got into Parks and Rec, I was looking for a job. And now I tell people, like, I think I could be in Knoxville and retire from Parks and Rec, which 13 years ago was not the plan. So,
well, I do remember COVID when as the athletic director, when I had to send that email and make those phone calls and stop all athletic programming.
Yeah,
it was probably the worst time in my career. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because people wanted to be out there on the fields and stuff, but we could not allow them.
It was kind of like, it was like our Black Friday where we couldn't open the doors.
Yeah.
Where we had an open gym and, schools were out, everybody's closed. And we were like, hey, we've got 50 people at open gym, where other days we would die to have 50 people there.
Yeah.
At the, the parks were like, there's so many people outside walking, and, marching at our door, and we can't connect them. It's like Black Friday morning, everybody's lined up outside Best Buy, and we just close the door, lock the door, and go home,
That's it.
and just wait. And so it's a really interesting time. But I think so much good came out of it. Ways to reevaluate. In some ways, like stop doing some things that probably needed to be stopped many years ago.
Right.
But yeah, so that video reminded me of that. But really, just the essential part. I think COVID highlighted how essential parks are.
Oh yeah, I most definitely agree with you. I think we were looked at differently after COVID, and more than ever became an essential part of the community and life in general. I know, we talk essential, and it's again, throw some balls out, let the kids play, but we are involved in so much. You know what I'm saying? And here in Florida, we're coming storm season. No matter where you're at, if there's a need, Parks and Rec folks are looked at to help out.
Yeah, and that's, you never know when it is. If it's a bomb threat and somebody needs to be in your building, or for us, we had a cold spell where it was under 10 degrees for many days, and we opened up a warming shelter. And so, a lot of it's things you plan for, but also things that you never thought of. But then people come calling because Parks and Rec is typically there in times of need.
That's it. That's us.
And a lot of Parks and Rec departments, I think, are solution based, and it's we've never thought of this, but give me a couple minutes and we'll figure it out.
You got it. Well, Aaron, I appreciate you coming on the podcast with us today. I appreciate it. I'm going to be in Tennessee next month for the TRPA annual conference. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. And again, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
At DPRS Media Co., we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of Parks and Rec. Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together.